Mr. President, Emanuel, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the WIPO Conference Hall here in Geneva, and thank you very much indeed for coming to this FITS Forum, Financial Integrity and Transparency in Sport. FITS Forum is a lot easier to say, so I'm going to be sticking with that for the next 2 days. My name is David Eads. I am going to serve as a sort of link man, really, through a very busy program, which I think you've seen before you, of panel sessions and speeches. I'll be moderating some of those sessions as well. It's going to be fast-paced, and we need everyone to keep up on that, because otherwise we will run out of time, and we can't afford to do that. It strikes me as an irony that today that the sun is out, it's a balmy, warm, late summer's Geneva moment, and in here, it's a torrent of angst and disquiet about what's happening within sport, within our sports organizations. Who's ruling the roost, who's manipulating them, and what are we going to do about it? And we have gathered here in the forum a really impressive, world-leading selection of experts and analysts, and not just, as you see, from within sport, but from across the spectrum, political, financial, legal, and we'll hear from all of those in the course of the next 2 days. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that we find ourselves in arguably the most critical moment for our sporting landscape for most of our working careers. And this forum is an opportunity to do something about that. For me, a forum is a marketplace, really. It's an opportunity to exchange and trade ideas, thoughts, opinions, and that's where you all come in. And I hope you'll all share in contributing to the next 2 days. Before I introduce our president, first of all, let me remind you, this is the work and the creation of the ICSS. So let's just have a short video of the ICSS.
Sport has a huge global appeal and a unique set of values. Yet it's under attack. The enemy? Sports corruption, and those that threaten its safety, security, and integrity. Security costs are rising. Matches are being fixed. Organized crime is reaping the benefits. Players' rights are being missold. Dreams are dying. But there is hope. The ICSS was formed to preserve the security, safety, and integrity of sport. An international hub of knowledge and expertise, proposing new ideas and new ways to protect sport. An integrated, independent approach with powerful global partnerships. And the capacity and courage to confront the key issues and find solutions. Working on the ground with leading worldwide academic institutions and a truly global reach. The ICSS, along with the Sorbonne University, founded the ICSS Sorbonne Project, creating a set of guiding principles against match fixing and betting fraud. The ICSS is working to create best practice guidelines on the recruitment, training, education, and protection of young athletes around the world. The ICSS is also collaborating with the Community of Portuguese Language Countries, Commonwealth of Nations, and the Ibero-American Community on sport policy and interregional cooperation. And with its Financial Integrity and Transparency in Sport global project, the ICSS is helping to shape vital reforms and encouraging a coordinated, international approach to protecting sport in the face of the huge economic and commercial growth of the industry. Agreements are in place across the global sporting arena. The momentum is building. And the fight continues. To win the battle and protect sport, we need an international approach with an indestructible resolve that unites key stakeholders across all sectors. The time is now for a global drive to safeguard sport. Together, we are stronger. Together, we can be a powerful force for change.
And with that, I'd like to ask the President of the ICSS, Mohammed Hanzab, to welcome you, President. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, bonjour, buongiorno, and good morning. We are in Switzerland, so we have to say it in 3 languages. I would like to welcome you to the Financial Integrity and Transparency in Sport Forum in this beautiful city, Geneva. Firstly, I would like to thank the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, in whose wonderful new conference center we come together to debate the issues and seek solutions. We have received great support from the Director General of WIPO, Mr. Francis Gouy, who's here with us today. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. I also wish to thank all our partners and delegates for being here today. Your continued support means a lot for us. When my colleagues proposed to me to convene this forum at WIPO, I tried to go beyond logistic considerations and understand what ICSS and all those organizations which, like us, want to protect sport could learn from WIPO. Certainly, its attention on innovation, on international cooperation, and focus on public-private partnerships. But also, if you allow me to refer to WIPO language, its commitment to an effective protection of traditional knowledge and traditional cultural expression. That is what WIPO is doing for indigenous groups. Sport is a form of a traditional knowledge. Sport is a form of traditional cultural expression, but it is not limited to a specific group. Sport is a genetic resource of a human kind. Financial integrity in sport means, therefore, preventing those forms of illicit enrichment generated at the cost of sport and its owner, namely the nations of the world. We need to give sport back to people, and to this end, we need to forge a new generations as a custodian of sport. But even the best and most motivated people will fail without providing them with the right and most transparent structures. That's easy to be said, transparent structures. Sometimes I wonder, and I have questions which I cannot find an answer for. If I take an example of a football match in a final, like World Cup or Champions League final, UEFA, where there is 80,000 spectators. There is 22 players, plus their supporters, and these athletes or players, there are so many cameras, hundreds of cameras taking every moment and every player expression. There is a referee. Now they are asking for 5 referees to watch the player mistake and or cheating. There is goal technology, so they are investing a lot to catch, only focusing on the athlete at the field. And after the match, the athlete, poor athlete, he go for a blood test to check if there is a blood, to check his blood sample. Is it really fair that only the athlete is to be checked, where sport officials who organize the match, who organize the tournament, who organize sport not to be checked? Where is this transparent structure at sport official? So transparency should be from top to bottom, not only for athletes. This is our main challenge and responsibility to protect sport from money laundering, tax evasions, and address issues such as financial supervision and third-party ownerships. The FIFA case is not simply the result of human mistake. It is the result of systemic and structural failure, which goes beyond FIFA itself. For this reason, an honest and open debate on a good governance, the need for reforms, and on the autonomy of sport cannot be further postponed. You have joined us today from Europe, Asia, Africa, Oceania, and Americas to work together on a common cause, to build a pathway towards collective reform free from agendas, so that we may safeguard sport for future generations. We have here, for the first time, senior representatives from some of the world's leading organizations and key decision makers from all sectors related to sport. We can no longer stand by and ignore the mounting challenges to safeguarding sport in what is an expanding and increasingly complex financial and commercial landscape. The threats to sports' financial integrity and reputation are mounting. We will have to enter into an in-depth, honest discussion on the commercial growth, global appeal, and ongoing investment in sport. We have the power and influence in this room to make a difference, both in numbers and representativeness. We at the ICSS are very passionate about countering existing and emerging threats in sport. However, we recognize that we cannot do it alone. Shared commitment to good governance and financial integrity in sport is paramount, which is why we have established this comprehensive global project on financial integrity and transparency in sport. Ladies and gentlemen, we have worked to come here not just in a reaction to any incident. This has been planned long time ago. And this is West ICSS. We are focused in our course, and we just do our homework. And why we have invited you here today, I ask you to use this opportunity to share your experiences and your opinions and join us in the fight to restore credibility to sport financial practice. This forum is yours. Together we can drive real positive change for sport. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. I'd like to ask now the CEO of ICSS Europe and Latin America, Emanuel Medeiros, to introduce you to the forum. Emmanuel.
Thank you, David. Dear Mohammed, President of ICSS, distinguished speakers and guests, members of the press, dear friends of sport. I want to begin this intervention by asking you to consider some history in this very day, the 3rd of September. On this day, in 1881, Richard Sears won the first men's US Open tennis tournament. In 1902, Pittsburgh won the first professional baseball pennant. On this day, in 1904, the Olympics concluded in St. Louis, Missouri. Back then, a tug of war was an Olympic event. In 1917, FC Utrecht in Holland was formed. In 1925, the first international handball match was held. On this very day, in 1929, the celebrated Swiss cyclist Carlo Clarici, the winner of the 1954 Giro d'Italia, was born. In 1985, England regained cricket ashes, beating Australia at the Oval. In 1989, the world mourned the passing of Gaetano Scidia, one of the greatest defenders of all time, who was in Italy's 1982 World Cup winning team and was one of the only 5 players to have won all international trophies for football clubs recognized by both FIFA and UEFA. The list, of course, goes on and on, just for this day alone, the 3rd of September. Why do I share this? I share this because sport often marks the milestones of our lives and commands the attention of our world. They draw attention like little else, and they have an unrivaled power to bring us all together. And because sports holds this power, it also amasses astonishing political power and market power. By every economic measure, ticket sales, broadcast deals, sponsorship arrangements, club ownership value, partnership revenue, sport is only gaining strength and strength. But the brightest light casts the darkest shadows. Yes, sport has a unique impact on our society and in our economy. It's part of our lives. It's part of our culture, our common identity. It's part of us. It represents our values of self-improvement, fair play, and teamwork. And it can be used, indeed, to spread those values. But at the same time, we have unfortunately seen that sport can be explored to undercut those very same values. And that is why we are all here today, on the 3rd of September, to preserve, in a united, collaborative fashion, sport's essence, to preserve sport's positive values, its positive traditions, its role in our culture, in our society, in our economy. We must, therefore, work together to restore its reputation and credibility. And what an historical gathering this is. And what a fantastic turnout this is. I'm very proud, and the President has already emphasized that. We are deeply encouraged by your presence here. We are proud to see in this room so many distinguished speakers, delegates, organizations, leading organizations, and of course, such a large presence from the media. We are joined by senior representatives from the Olympic and sport movement, from IOC, FIFA, UEFA, FIBA, World Rugby, European leagues, European clubs, and many, many other stakeholders. I see in this room also the most active sponsors in sport, as well as broadcasters, financial institutions, financial supervision authorities, supporters, and many more. I see some of the most influential decision makers, some of the highest representatives from leading world organizations who have never gathered to discuss at this level sports financial integrity and transparency, ranging from the World Bank, the OECD, the Financial Action Task Force, UNODC, the European Commission, just in front of me, to sports ministers and lawmakers from several countries. We are, of course, delighted to host such an impressive and large delegation from the United States. This is a strong vote of confidence in the ICSS, in the FITS Forum, in all of us, and a demonstration of how serious and how committed the United States is about financial integrity and transparency in sport. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends and colleagues, the ICSS is, in one word, proud to see represented in this room the future of sport. On this day, the 3rd of September, we gather here with an important mission, an undeclinable imperative, and that is to create a pathway towards a new era of sports governance and financial integrity, a new era to FITS.
Sport, the more beautiful it gets, the uglier it can become. As the popularity and economic growth of sport soars, so do the threats to its financial integrity. third-party ownership of players, influential offshore investment funds, unlicensed agents, controversial broadcast and image rights, agents' commissions and unpaid players' wages, poor governance and financial mismanagement, tax evasion, money laundering, match fixing, and child trafficking. Global problems need global solutions. The time is now for a strong, coordinated international approach to safeguard sport. To support this, the ICSS has established the Financial Integrity and Transparency in Sport Global Project. For the first time ever, FITS will provide a holistic, rigorous, and neutral analysis of the current realities and threats, developing the most robust solutions, and bringing about crucial and much-needed reform. It's a call to action for the world's leaders from sport, government, the financial and commercial sectors, driven by groundbreaking research, which is currently being developed by a global network of leading academics and international experts. Its mission: to develop a set of global standards to be implemented by sports, governments, financial institutions, and commercial organizations. The time for action is now to keep sport beautiful and free from corruption. As long as sport is popular, it needs financial integrity and transparency.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's indisputable that sport is one of the fastest growing industries in the planet, with overwhelming popularity and an exponential commercial growth. And I think sport should be proud of this ability to generate prosperity, economic development, and social development as well. And just look at the impact of one sport that FITS has chosen to focus this year: football. The preliminary data from the FITS research shows that the approximate aggregate revenue generated just from football each year is $33 billion US. $33 billion US. This is about 40% of the annual revenue from all spectator sports, at about 80 billion, and more than all US sports combined. I'm talking about NFL, MLS, NHL, NBA, all of them. The FITS project will cover all other sports next year. But in the meantime, the research that has been developed by Professor Matt Andrews and his team shows that globally and in Europe, football generates more revenue than any other sports sector, and it's about the same size of the US film industry. The figures are indeed impressive. But as the size of the market grows, so do the threats to its financial integrity. Over the last decade, we have witnessed the growing financial sophistication of sport. We have witnessed new, emerging, increasingly complex financial products and financial engineering. Creativity has no limits. New trends have emerged, gained roots, and consolidated in Europe and beyond. Trends like third-party ownership of players' economic rights, a practice that involves more than 1,100 players in Europe and more than 1.1 billion euros. We have seen trends emerging, like the growing number and the rising influence of offshore investment funds, where opacity, poor regulation, and lack of oversight reigns. We have seen complex and opaque club ownership structures becoming more and more vulnerable to criminal infiltration. All those threats inspire serious and legitimate concerns. But that's not all. We have seen an increasing number of incidents of money laundering, tax evasion, and racketeering. We have seen controversies related to major sports events and their commercial rights. Each of these tarnishes severely the reputation of the sector. I know that these are not easy subjects. I know that these are not easy words, but this is the moment where we need to look at the mirror, that we need to sit in the couch and analyze what has been done or what is missing and focus on what has to be done in the future. This is the moment of truth. This is the moment where we choose sides, because neutrality is not an option. Indifference is not an option. Sleepwalking attitudes are not an option. We must change this, and we must do it working together in unity. I'm, of course, sure that most of your minds go to the appalling revelations and fallout from the latest incidents that hit FIFA. I think this is impossible to ignore. But the problems, the complexity, the seriousness, as well as the need for long overdue reforms, go far beyond FIFA, and they go far beyond football. So, as the money and challenges flow throughout all the international sport, we need to be conscious of that. And FIFA should not cause an obliteration of other problems which are happening in other sectors. In just a few years, we have seen volleyball, handball, track and field, and even sumo wrestling confronted with corruption probes. We have seen cycling, and we have seen more recently, again, athletics, subject to devastating doping-related scandals. The reality, ladies and gentlemen, is that sport is simply too big, too popular, and too rich for any sport or jurisdiction to be immune. And now I ask the same question that you have been asking yourselves, which is why and how? How did we get here? How did we reach this point? How did sport, meant to be the ultimate expression of fairness, end up attracting practices that are anything but the opposite? I give you the answer. We have reached this stage because we allowed a silent but lethal development of a permissive environment. A permissive environment that has left sport increasingly vulnerable, increasingly unprotected, increasingly fragile. A permissive environment that has facilitated promiscuous behaviors and even illicit practices. A permissive environment fueled by the lack of global leadership, poor governance, poor regulation, and lax attitude from sports governing bodies, governments, and international organizations. We need to take our share of responsibilities in this situation. All this must change. And it must change right now, because if it's not done now, then we will lose the opportunity forever. And because in the 21st century, a multi-billion-dollar industry cannot be governed, cannot be regulated as if we were still in the 19th century. It is time to catch up. And it is time for the international community to assume its own responsibilities and take a firm stand. The need for action, ladies and gentlemen, is truly greater than ever. And so is the need for a robust, coordinated, global approach that leverages partnerships within the legal, financial, sporting, and political landscapes. At the ICSS, we are all ready. We are ready, we are equipped, we have the courage, we have the willingness, and we have the ambition to transform a vision of a clean, safe, and secure sport into a reality. We are ready to rend our constructive contribution to usher a new era in terms of financial integrity and transparency in sport. And that is why, as the President signaled, in November 2014, after months and months of serious discussions internally and hard work, we have launched the FITS project, an independent, neutral, expertise-driven initiative to examine sports financial processes and develop a set of globally recognized standards for implementation by sport, governments, financial institutions, and commercial businesses. The FITS Fund report, due to be released early next year, will also outline the game plan for the future and the most pressing and needed reforms. But if there is still any doubt, I would like to be very clear. The FITS project is not a politically driven project. The FITS project is not a commercially driven project. The FITS project is, and I will say it again, an independent and neutral project. We make no compromise, we make no concessions, we make no bargainings, because sport is above all that. And that is why we have done the utmost to set up and develop a project that is based on a unique collaborative approach, aiming to foster best practice and develop a blueprint for coordinated global action. FITS will, of course, respect sports autonomy. FITS will respect the role and the legitimacy of sports bodies. FITS will respect the role of governments, economic regulators, and international institutions. But FITS will also protect those institutions by offering constructively reforms, processes, and best practices that can guide them. The project's goals, obviously, are not small. We are aware of that. And that is why, as part of the FITS consultation process, we are organizing this high-level conference, the FITS Forum. For the very first time, at such a high level, you, all of you, the senior representatives from the world of sport, government, international organizations, financial supervision authorities, financial institutions, sports, and the media, you have been brought together to dissect the situation in which sport is confronted, work together to mobilize goodwills, purposes and intention, mobilize efforts to shape a future transparent, sustainable, and beneficial sport. Following the FITS Forum, the outcomes of the panel sessions, together with the research that has been developed by Harvard's academic team, will be collected and analyzed. And obviously, this will allow the ICSS to listen to all voices in this room, to gather all inputs, all contributions, and I have so many organizations in this room to express words of sincere appreciation, because from all of you we have been receiving encouraging support and encouragement, so that we can create a powerful set of fact-based principles to drive credible and coordinated international action to protect sport. So, ladies and gentlemen, your presence in this forum is very important. Your presence in this forum is in itself a statement, a strong and loud statement. It's the evidence that today all of us recognized our shared responsibilities to build a new era of financial integrity, transparency, and credibility to sport. Sports governing bodies, I already said, play a vital role. They are the custodians of the game and its ethics and its fair play. Governments play a vital role. They are the custodians of public order and the law and the rule of law. But sport belongs to all of us. And that is why we do have a vital role to play to safeguard sport for us, for those who love it, and for the future generations. With joint effort, through commitment and concerted, coordinated global action, we can indeed usher a new era of financial integrity and transparency for all of sport. And that, for an inaugural conference, is, or should be, a pretty good start. I wish you a productive FIT Forum. I wish you in advance for your contributions, your commitment, your pledge to shape a new era for sport and to usher financial integrity and transparency for sport. Thank you very much, and thanks you for joining us in what promised to be a very exciting and fruitful journey. Thank you very much.
Emanuel, thank you very much indeed. And we're going to get straight down to business, because I'd like to ask our panelists for our first session to come and join me up on the platform. And gentlemen, if you'd like to make your way off, and we can bring in our four panelists. The session, as you can see, is Good Governance in Sport, time for reform. And it's not a question mark at the end, it's an exclamation mark. So I'd like to introduce our